Hey, and we're live. I hope you don't mind me breaking into your late night here. I am kind of sitting around, I'm thinking about some things, and I thought I'd kind of throw some stuff at you. Now, no, this is not about Avengers Endgame. I have not seen it yet. I hope to this weekend. I'm planning to see it either Saturday night or Sunday night. Hopefully Saturday night, but who knows with crazy schedule. Um, I'll see it as soon as I can. But no, this is not about um, seeing this big gargantuan superhero movie. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more intimately. No, about doing with my career and stuff right now. I'm doing a little public appearance right now, and I thought it might be fun to kind of like talk about what I'm doing with you guys. And I'm going to share this right now on Twitter. Point. I don't know. Hopefully, maybe a couple of you will check it out. So, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing my first appearance as writer this year at a little thing called Fresh Ink, and it's going to be at the South Norfolk Library tomorrow morning. And I'm going to be making some appearances. I'm going to be selling uh, copies of. Boy, man, I really should have prepared. There we go. Selling copies of this bad boy, Red Knight. I have a vendor table at this, and this is like the no frills convention edition that doesn't have any like special notifications on it. The new copies that are coming out this summer are going to have like everything else on this, but this is the no frills convention version, and I'm going to be. Let's see. I think. Let me take a look here. The convent. I don't want to call it convention. That's not really accurate. Um, Let me take a look here. What's going on? Yeah, tomorrow from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. I'm going to be signing and selling copies of Red Knight, and I have the old editions of from Primal Paper Comics and the new No Frills convention copies. These are not the new Manos editions. Those are coming out later this summer. So also I'll be doing a. Hey, how's it going, Omnitron? I am also doing a little workshop about writing comics, and for months and months and months, I kind of like toiled over the idea of what I'll be talking about. This is literally anything I could be talking about. So I decided to talk about the thing I kind of like lean in towards most, and that's characters and character building. That's the thing I'm most like interested in. I'll be doing that from 1:30 to 2:15, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to be talking about for 45 minutes about characters, but I thought I'd give that a shot. Omnitron, let's see. Really great. That comic I was going to do has shifted into being an outright novel. Hey, that's great. But other than that, that's great. Hey, that's really cool. I hope to start a new novel within the next year. I've been kind of dragging my heels on it, and I hope to get it done, or at least not done. Hope to get started this year. So I'm gonna be talking about creating characters, and I thought, if you don't mind, I would kind of like sit you guys down and just kind of like roll through a little bit of what I'll be talking about. So I'm gonna just kind of go off. I have kind of prepared notes. I don't really have a fully written speech. For some reason, I always feel uncomfortable writing like detailed speeches. I tend to fare in kind of winging it and just creating like notes and ideas of where I want to go. So I thought, if you don't mind, I thought I'd just do a little run through of what I want to talk about tomorrow. And we can even kind of like role play a little bit, role play. No, that's not what I'm talking about. So if you don't mind, I'd kind of like to and just talk about what I'll be doing at this little workshop. And if you don't mind being my audience, well, I mean, you can turn off anytime and go away if you don't feel like listening. I am going to probably do a Avengers Endgame reaction video sometime in the next few days. Maybe I'll do a live Q&A about it. That'd be kind of cool. I don't really do those too much. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about creating characters. And this is essentially kind of roughly my notes on doing that. Oh, thanks, Omnitron. Oh, you can continue. You can, if you're falling asleep, go ahead and fall asleep. I'm gonna kind of cut this down. I'm probably gonna finish this up at 1 p.m. 1 a.m. Excuse me. So if you fall asleep, that's totally cool. You can finish watching this later. But I essentially kind of want to just introduce myself and say, hi, I'm Justin Cristelli. I'm the creator and writer of Red Knight. I've actually been writing the comic and publishing it since 2011 under Primal Paper Comics. They were my initial publisher, and this year I am relaunching the book under my own comic book company called Manos Publishing. I have written a bunch of different things over the last few years. I've written comic books, I've written film scripts, I've written short stories, I've even written a novel, and I've kind of like developed a few ideas about doing that, and I thought I'd kind of share them with you. And there is this kind of idea I've had where I kind of view writers, you can split writers up into two kind of factions. One can be character writers, and the other would be writers, with intricate plots and all that kind of thing. Good examples are, I think a good character writer is G. Willow Wilson of New Wonder Woman and Miss Marvel. And I think a great plot writer, you could probably say, is Jonathan Hickman, Fantastic Four, Avengers. He's got the X-Men project coming up soon. He's very hardcore on plotting. Now, look, you can be someone who favors plots and can write a good developed character, or vice versa. You can be a really good character person and, put together a good yarn and that, has nice twists and turns and stuff like that. But at some point, you kind of got to make a decision on what you're going to lean towards most. And I think that says a lot about you as a writer and the type of stories you write. Now, I particularly see myself over the last few years as a character writer. I often will come up with the character first and then build a story around them. I very rarely do the opposite because essentially the characters that I come up with are kind of reactions to the world I see, and they very quickly kind of like develop into the worlds that I build around them are kind of a reaction to them. Like, okay, like, my character, Red Knight, is a young superhero who grew up in a superhero universe. He wants to be a superhero. He finally gets his chance. He finds that being a hero is a lot more difficult than he thought. And when he starts meeting his heroes growing up, he discovers that they're a lot more complicated than he thought they were. And he's got to kind of like, in his stories, he will typically have to decide if those values he learned from his heroes growing up were true, or were they false by false people, or will he be able to, take those lessons that his heroes kind of failed at and succeed? That's kind of where his challenge is. That's where his journey is. And there's a lot of other stuff surrounding that, but that's essentially kind of the heart of who he is. When you like look at characters, you can decide on. You need to kind of decide on a few things right off the bat. Like when you're first starting with your character, I think the obvious place is backstory. Like, for instance, like, who is your character? I mean, what was the kind of life that they were living and they've grown up in before the start of the story? Did they grow up in like the old West or high society or the slums? Hey, Shadow Batman. I am talking about creating characters. I have a workshop and a signing I'm doing tomorrow at South Norfolk Library. And yeah, your character's backstory and really develop who they are at the beginning of your series or your tale or whatever. And that's kind of like created their judgment, whether they are a villain or a hero or in somewhere in between. Did they grow up in really shoddy, like violent, dark times? Did they grow up in very like privileged times? How does that inform their point of view? So when they are challenged by their stories, by other characters, by their first plot points, how do they react? And how do they progress the story because of those things? What are your character's flaws? Now, like, no one's perfect. And I'm not talking about flaws like really profoundly terrible flaws, like, do they have any addictions? Do they have any like bigoted beliefs? Do they have any like misconceptions about the world? Do they have any like failings? Are they terrible procrastinators? Do they have really bad tempers? Do they let people walk all over them? How does that interfere with the characters? And of course, you can build from there, from their backstory. All these things. And let's see. I think I got a. Oh wow. Let's see. Shadow the Bat says, "I know you're not a gamer, but what people do for games is they let the player choose a background and set up choices for players. I wonder if you think that's a cool teaching idea." That's actually not a bad idea, because I feel like gaming is an interesting tool, because it does kind of set up. They tend to give you like a character model, and sometimes you can like develop them. And I'm talking about like D&D and role playing and video games and online playing and stuff like that, where you can add your characteristics to the character. You can add yourself into the character, and I think that's why a lot of people like gravitate towards some of these characters, and why sometimes film adaptations have so much trouble is we put ourselves in the characters and we use our imagination. And it's this thing isn't such those things aren't such a bad like imagination builder. Hey, Marion, how you doing? we were talking about character building, and I was just talking about flaws. And you can have a character with all types of flaws, and minor flaws and large flaws that can develop the plot, or at least complicate things for your hero. Like, does your character have fears? Like, for an example, Red Knight is afraid of a couple things, and one basic fear he has is the ocean. Now, he lives in Norfolk, which is right on the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, so you think he'd be more used to the ocean, but he actually has a fear of huge, large bodies of water. And he will occasionally have to go on adventures in that large body of water as the Atlantic Ocean, and will occasionally meet seagoing villains and heroes and stuff like that. And I'm like, what kind of challenges is he gonna like have to deal with doing that? And how will that limit him? Like, also, he has a fear that I don't think he's really kind of like figured out yet in the story I've written so far. But he does have a fear of apathy, and not his own apathy, but the apathy of others. He's afraid that people don't care. And his world has been kind of really jaded when it comes to superheroes. There was a few events that have kind of screwed up and kind of broken the public's trust in superheroes, and he's afraid they're not believed in anymore, and the people who are superheroes don't believe in anymore, and he's really afraid of that. And I don't think he understands that yet. I've written 11 scripts for Red Knight. It's not something he's been able to articulate yet. So it's something he's going to kind of have to learn, and will be his interactions with other characters. Let's see. I think some people think that Superman doesn't have any flaws, even though he does. Yeah, he does. I think that's one of the common misconceptions about the character, is that he's perfect, and how could I get behind a character? It's just perfect. See, Shadow Batman says, Grant Morrison said something great. Superman saying that it's not physical that affects Superman the most, it's the emotional conflict, which is something we all understand. And yes, and that's how Superman is relatable. I 100% agree with that. And that's the thing, of course, you can also use in as far as in flaws. Like, okay, your character is nigh invincible, but they have fears and hopes, and a limited view. They can have a viewpoint that may be limited in some directions, or too open-minded. How does that interfere with what they're trying to accomplish? How does your character talk? I really love dialogue, and your dialogue and how your character talks can be a reflection of where they come from, what their attitude is, their degree of intelligence, their sense of humor, their basic persona. And that's something that writers, and including me, I'm guilty of this too, can be guilty of, is you use too much of the same type of dialogue ticks over and over again. And you got to be kind of fearful of that. One of my favorite examples is not a superhero comic or anything like that. It's Bob's Burgers. I love the 5 main characters of Bob's Burgers so much. Bob Belcher, Linda Belcher, Louise, Jean, and Tina. And what's so cool about that show, about those characters, is that you can read their dialogue and have their names like stripped off the script, and you know who each one of those characters are, because they're so distinct, and their attitudes and the way they talk, that they're just recognizable instantly. And that's something I try to achieve. I don't know how successful I am at it. But my goal is to obviously kind of sharpen that tool. Like, for instance, Red Knight is a very outgoing. He's rather optimistic, but he's naive. He knows the world's kind of jaded, and he gets it. And there's a little of that, and he's a bit snarky too, but he still has hope. So he's that weird kind of like hopeful person and smart ass person. Let's see, with like Martha Brown, she is definitely more jaded, more cynical. She's not a chatty person. Her dialogue tends to be more direct when she speaks. Shadow the Batman. With Red Knight, how much do your artist contribute to the character? I'm afraid, let's see, not too much. I try to kind of like create a lot. I'm kind of one of those writers that I have to put everything on the page. I like Neil Gaiman writes like that, and Alan Moore writes like that. Like, I tend to try and visualize and build everything. The way a artist will put together a page, if they have a better idea than me, I will default to the artist all over and over again. I do kind of have that thing where like they come up with a better visual than I had. Okay, they win. I'm not going to fight them on it. I try not to be like too territorial in that kind of direction. Like, no, it has to be my vision. Like, I don't know. If you beat me, you beat me, and that's kind of a good thing. That's good for everybody. I think one of the best. Marion McDaniel. I think one of the best examples of Superman having flaws is when he beat Mongrel senseless. Yes, that was. I think Hal Jordan is a good example of where he tries to be this man of bravado, but deep down he has a lot of flaws and fears. Yeah, and that's a pretty prime example of a lot of heroes, because I mean literally they're wearing masks over the masks they wear every day. They're putting on a character, and they're covering up more than their face. Let's see, Shadow the Batman. I wish, which is why I justify him with mask. Yeah. Let's see. This is something I always tend to tell people. And often, this is what I talk to writers when they are already kind of writing, when they're already kind of like developing their story, is listen to your characters. If you feel like you've kind of like pretty much developed a strong sense of your character, and if you have a good idea of who that character is, you need to start listening to your character. And if you put your character in certain situations and you want them to do a thing, and you feel like you're having like some kind of blockage about writing, maybe that's the character in your head saying, do that. I know you want me to do this, but I'm not that stupid. I'm not that cruel. I'm not that nice. I need you to like rethink this scene. Sometimes when you feel like you get to the point where your character is real enough, they can help you. It's weird. It's one of those things I don't know if I can fully articulate to the point where I can like, demonstrate it. But it is one of those things I've felt as a writer where I have had to go back and rewrite scripts and rewrite chapters because I was trying to get my character to do a thing and that's not who they are. Let's see. Shadow the Batman. Let's see. I think you said something about a while ago about not falling into archetypes and stereotypes because they are lazy. Yes, they are lazy. They're easy, and at worst, they're offensive. Um, and that's I can't tell you how many times when I see a character type, either in a comic or a film, and I see the image and I go, please don't be this. And then they are that, and I'm disappointed. Um, sometimes, sometimes you walk into certain scenes in life and you see a person that looks like a type, and then you talk to them for a minute and they're completely 100% different. Like, oh, great, this guy's a total redneck. He's going to, be a jerk and, want to be threatening. And like, you talk to him for 2 minutes and go, oh man, that guy was like a sweetheart, a teddy bear. Like, why did I think that? You can use that in your own script. You can, like, when you go into like a scene, like say a library, you got the stereotypical like old lady librarian character, but hey, put like a guy working next to her that's like a punk, and he's got like like one of those donut earrings and stuff like that, and he's a really sweet guy too, or he works at the library, and like he has this knowledge about like specific things. Think outside the box, because people aren't as easy as you may think, and it is designed to, of course, like make your story more interesting, challenge you as a writer, but also get your readers to look beyond, their own particular stereotypes of people. Because I think it's just healthy all the way around. So yeah, I can't stress, thinking about your characters and listening to your characters. Now, there are some things here that I will be here's the thing. I don't know if anybody's going to be showing up to this. This is the first time, this is the first annual Fresh Egg, and I don't know how well publicized it is. I don't know if anybody really is going to show up to this. But since it's a workshop, I thought I would legit ask people these certain questions. And I kind of printed out some sheets of little questionnaires. And if you don't mind, I'll ask you some things. Now, I was going to do 2 sets of questions, and the first set are obvious questions about characters. Number 1, who or what is your character? What are their abilities? What are their personality traits? What do they look like? Where are they from? And what do they want? And my hope is to give this to a couple of like potential writers in the audience and kind of let them fill that out. And then I want to ask them like a second set of questions. And these are questions. And this is something I try to do myself with characters. And I recommend to anybody who writes is to kind of test your knowledge about the character. Like, these are like, just janky, stupid stuff. Like, what's your character's favorite food? Do they like pizza? They like fish? Are they from another planet and they like gorgabobs or whatever the hell you want to make up as food? How do they like to eat? Where do they like to eat? Do they like to eat out? Do they like to eat alone? What are their habits? Number 2, what is your character's favorite book or film or TV show or song? And of course, if your character comes from another universe, that may be a separate problem. But if they're from one like ours, do they have any like favorite bits of art, and do they inform them as a character? Have they influenced them? Or as a character, how does that influence their like art choices? like would like that episode of Batman the animated series where Dick Grayson gets him to watch It's a Wonderful Life, and Batman was kind of afraid to watch it because he thought it would be too cheerful, and then after seeing it, he was like, "Oh, okay, I get that. I'm interested." um, what is your character's most embarrassing moment? And it doesn't even have to be anything grand. It can be something really simple uh, that is a thing that can happen to you and me. Um, who is your character's crush? Now, are they crushing on someone they know in real life? Are they crush on maybe another hero that they've never met, a celebrity, a character that maybe they want to really fall in love with but are afraid to talk to? Um, does this, do they have any kind of like characteristics that would prevent them from approaching this character? Let's see. Shadow the Batman says Dan Jurgens thought about that with Superman, as he said, if Zorro had an influence on Batman, what movie or book could influence Superman? And he said To Kill a Mockingbird, and that is actually ingenious. I really like that. That makes a lot of sense. And see, right there. Does your character collect anything? Like for an example, like Superman. We're talking about Superman. Like he collects mementos from Krypton, like if he can find them, or things lost from alien worlds that maybe no longer exist or need help protecting. Batman also does something very similar. He collects mementos from his various cases, the more weirder ones. Or can they just collect comics? Like Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, she creates fan fiction of other characters she meets. That kind of thing. What makes your character laugh if they do laugh? What's something that amuses them? That's something that we can talk easily about all the type of things. Do they laugh at stupid crude humor, or are they like a tough audience, like Batman, for instance? Or do they just laugh at everything they see? Or are they kind of a fakey laugh person, like, oh, ha 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 ha? I don't know. Like that can tell you a little bit. Like, if they're willing to fake laugh at something, like maybe, they're a person that keeps secrets. Who knows? And lastly, I was going to ask, what is your character's secret? Obviously, from identity. Is there something they're afraid to admit about themselves or to other people? Have they done something really awful and are trying to make up for it? Or just something really stupid, embarrassing that they think would kind of ruin their image? These are all kind of like, small little things. And I'll be honest, as a writer, I recommend every once in a while doing that kind of thought exercise. And maybe even break it down further, like, stupider, smaller things to, try and test yourself on, how your character would react to certain things. Like they're in a line at the bank and it's taking really long because that person ahead of them is obviously never been in a bank before and doesn't know what they're doing. Are they cool with it? Are they like irritated? There's this wonderful speech Quicksilver has in an issue of X Factor, Peter David wrote. And Quicksilver has always been this kind of arrogant jerk. He's always been pushy, always been rude. And he has this wonderful conversation with Doc Samson. And he talks about that, and he tries to articulate it to him. And he goes, have you ever been in line somewhere and somebody just doesn't know what they're doing and they're taking too long, and you got to go to work, and you're getting frustrated? And he goes, yeah, that happens to me sometimes. And he goes, okay, that's how I feel all the time, because I'm a speedster and I feel like I have to be slow for everybody in any particular situation, and it drives me nuts and just completely shrinks my patience to nothing. God, I love that kind of like that thought. You know, how do these characters interact with other people? That's the kind of thing that I think is important to build a character that resonates. That's how, when you write stories, the part of the fun is seeing how that character reacts to the situations and the plot points in that story. Or let's say the story isn't the best, but your character is still fun, and you're willing to ride this out because you enjoy hanging out with the character for a while. I've seen that a bunch of times. Look, I have like 8 billion comic books right here, right behind me. And not all of them are winners, but I'll enjoy reading those comics because I love those characters. And whether it be Kamala Khan or Peter Parker, you know, Diana, Princess of the Amazons, or Batman, or even Cassandra Cain. I love those characters, so I'll just hang out with them. And, you know, just deal with, you know, whatever crappy stories they may be slugging through, because I love them. And I think that's really important. A lot of superhero comics, a lot of fans of comics, we'll talk about stories, but what they will talk about over and over again and never forget is the characters. And that's kind of where I start. And that's kind of what I hope to do with my character, Red Knight, and I hope he and other characters can resonate with people as they read them. So that's what I'm hoping to talk about. We just talked about 30 minutes. If I'm talking in front of people, that might stretch things out a little bit. So I want to thank you for taking time, listening to me, kind of being my test audience for this. I appreciate that. So I'm going to be doing more live videos. I'll probably be doing another one maybe in a day or two. I might do one about Avengers Endgame, maybe. I feel like I need to do another Q&A soon. I don't really do enough of these. I feel like I should do maybe one a week. Would you like one a week? Would that be cool with you guys? So I haven't figured out a good day to do these things. So yeah, I'll be doing that tomorrow. I don't know if I'll have any video footage of the event. I'm kind of bad. I get really focused on what I'm doing and I kind of forget the video of things. I'll see if I can. Oh, thanks, Marion. Oh, Shadow the Bat. I talked to. Oh, oops. Blah blah blah. Talked to Hal Jordan. Let's see. Oh, I talked about Hal Jordan as well as the Blackest Night storyline in his inner monologue as he quotes poetry. Do you think Hal knows poetry? But his mind, yeah, he doesn't seem like a poet kind of guy, does he? That's a good point. That's a very good point about narration. Maybe I should talk about that too, because you know what? Sometimes, like, writers will be really up in arms about doing like flowy poetry in their narrations. Like, it's like, does Daredevil really talk about that? Who's he talking to? I know you're trying to be Frank Miller, but you know, maybe that's not how. You know, maybe that's not how Daredevil talks. Although he is a lawyer, so he is chatty. So yeah, I'm going to be doing more videos of that are Red Knight centric very soon, actually. My plan is to relaunch the comic, starting with number one, all in color issues, by the way. And I'm going to be releasing the book in a prompt schedule. I'm going to try and do this book quarterly. That means every 3 months, a new issue, which is not something you're used to with indie comics. Indie comics usually wait like a couple of years between issues. I kind of would rather try and beat that and do more regular issues coming out. So essentially, I'm probably going to do a Kickstarter, and it's going to be a very small Kickstarter. Really, all I need is some funds to help print the books, and also I'm going to use it as a way of helping people kind of like pre-order the book. Be a good way to kind of jump in early. There's going to be like kind of a fresh coat of paint on the thing. There's some new coloring. Some of the dialogues tweaked in the new editions, and also have the new Manos logo. I don't have the new cover quite yet set up. I think the model we've made looks really great. I can't wait to show it to you. And there's going to be a couple new covers. Issue 4 is going to have a new cover, and there's also a crossover in mind. I can't really talk about that just now, but I have a crossover with another title coming up next year, so I can't wait to show that off. I can't wait to talk about that. Okay, that's me talking about character building, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you want to take on any of my questions I threw on there, go ahead and leave them in the comments. And for anybody wanting to write comics and independent comic books, I'm going to be doing more videos not only about my independent comic book, but also indie books in general. I want to talk more about them, and also the creation process and how I go about it. Because I get questions all the time from people like, hey, how do you write a comic? How do you do this? How do you do that? And I've learned a few things, and I guess I can teach a few things and then learn a few things back, because I think this is kind of a conversation, really. All right, I am done for the night. I'm going to bed, and I'll see you guys later. Good night.